before I have to learn now. So, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Before to start, I would like to share with you that I don't have any MBA on management, nor I'm an expert on productivity. Just can call myself a learner, a person who is trying to applying some techniques in order to be more productive on a daily basis. I'm here with you today because I had some failures. I failed in managing my time. I failed in managing my tasks. I failed in managing my projects. And I failed in managing my personal life some years ago, not now, of course. And all of that led me to have an highly stressed life. I was very stressed. And I had to do something about that. So at the very beginning, I was very motivated. I was motivated to be more productive. But then at some point, I found out that motivation wasn't working at all, because if you don't have a system, if you don't change your habits, you're going to repeat the same errors. So it's a kind of broken record. As advocates, we also apply several good strategies in order to change people's habits, like veganuary or the 21 days challenge, in order to have people to reduce their meat consumption or adopt a plant-based diet. So it's everything is about habits at the end. And within the next few minutes, because it would be a bit boring sometimes, I will show you some tips. I will show you some tips on how we can be more productive and how we can change our habits and manage our time. So the first thing we have to ask ourselves is why? Why do I want to be more productive? Okay, sorry. Okay, we missed the slide, so I'm going to why we want to be more productive. We have to ask ourselves, am I seeking freedom from something or freedom to do something? Do I want to be free? I want to spend, for example, less time on doing boring stuff. For example, for me, it's quite boring to do finance. And I want to spend more time on creativity. Or I want to do more volunteering for my favorite organization. So we have to ask ourselves why we want to be more productive. And let's define what's productivity. Productivity, it's a measure of efficiency of a person completing a task. We often assume that productivity is about people doing like several tasks within, for example, each day, getting more things done. But it's not about that. It's not true. Productivity is about getting the most important things done consistently, which are two different things. And why time management is extremely important? Can someone answer this question? Why time management is extremely important? Can someone answer me? That's perfect, because we have limited time. Okay, so if we are able to manage our time, we can achieve more with less efforts. When we are not able to manage our time, we feel overwhelmed. And when we are overwhelmed, we cannot take control of all the things we have to do. So when we are able to manage our time, at the end, we can develop self-discipline, and we can avoid procrastination as well. So it's really important to manage our time. I think we got some, I sent you the PDF and we got some. The order of the slides was. So the first thing we have to do when we want to be more productive and be more conscious about our time is to write down our goals, because written goals tend to remain, okay? So we can see clearly what's our plan. That's really important, to write down our goals. But how we do that? We can use a guideline. We can use several techniques, several methods, but I would use as a guideline the SMART model, the SMART model, but I will call it smarter now. So a goal, if we want to achieve something, for example, has to be specific. We want to talk about, I want to learn photography. we would say completing the photography course has to be measurable. For example, we won't say, I want to lose weight. We would say, I want to lose 5 kilos, okay? Has to be actionable. I want to be more productive. No, it's not about me being more productive. It's about I want to write 5 articles per week, for example. So we have to set our goals. Has to be relevant because has to be in line with what you want to do in your life. Time keyed or temporal. What about if I'm saying doing more physical activity? No, I would say I want to run 30 minutes per day. So it's a smart objective. We have to evaluate what we are doing and readjust that. If something is not working, okay, we're going to reevaluate that goal, and it's up to you to find your system. So why some people think they don't have enough time? Some people tend to temporize or postponing things, so they get really stressed and frustrated. Other people are dispersed. They cannot focus at all just doing a task. They cannot complete the task. They just move to another one, okay, and so on. So they are not able to finish their project. Other people are exceeding on perfectionism. What does it mean? That they are so focused on detail that cannot finish their projects on time. So that are like few examples of why people are not able to manage their time. So some basics. The first thing is to be more productive is not to learn a lot about productivity, just to change our habits, okay? Because if we can't change, if we cannot change ourselves, we cannot change the world, okay? So we have to change before our habits, because it's just a basic thing. It's universal. If you cannot change, you cannot change the things you want to change. So the second thing that we can divide in 4 slots is, to recap, is you have to fix your goals. It's really important. Write down your goals. Second thing, focus on 1%. For example, if I'm not a reader and I want to read more books, my goal shouldn't be like, yeah, I want to read today 50 pages. No, it's better one page. Then the following day, 2 pages, and then 3, and so on. Just get the habit. You just need to get a new habit. Keep track of it, okay? You have to measure what you're doing. So it's about measuring your progress if something is doing bad, is doing well, so you always have to track everything. And the last thing that is quite important is you cannot expect to become like a productivity machine. You have to assume that it's a very long journey. It can take months or years. It's up to us. So there's not a universal rule that if you start thinking about productivity, the day after, you're just, yeah, okay, I'm a productive person. So remember that progress is better than perfection, and constancy is the key on everything. So small steps, because you can appreciate them, and also you have to be happy while you're doing that. You cannot be unhappy if you want to be the best version of yourself. And another important thing is don't focus on your goal, just think about your system, because the system is the key of everything. You have to have a very good plan. But who we are, before to start on thinking what we can do, we have to think about how our body is working. Like recently, 2 sociologists from the University of Cornell in the US studied people's emotions, and they do that on Twitter. They evaluated 500 million tweets written by 2.4 million users. And they figured that our positive feelings grow in the morning, collapse in the afternoon, and go back in the evening, regardless any geographical position or culture. So our cognitive abilities are different during the day, so are not stable. Think about our mind during the morning is more in alert, so it's better to do analytical tasks during the morning. After 4 hours with non-stop working, our mental guard weakens, so we are less logical. So we have to keep in mind also how our brain is working and how we can avoid to overwhelm our mind, our brain So what we can do, there are several techniques. Like everyone is an expert. Everyone knows how to do that. Like techniques like the Pomodoro technique, suggesting like 20 minutes of deep work and 5 minutes of break. Other people saying, yeah, an hour of deep work and then 5 minutes of break. Other people, like me, I prefer to work for 90 minutes, 90 minutes of deep work and 20 minutes of break. When you want to do a break, it's better to do that with someone, with a friend, a colleague. Don't talk about work. Don't check your emails. Don't check your social media. You have just to share other things with another person because you can also reduce the amount of stress. And if you have the opportunity to stay close to a park, close to the nature, it's a good thing because nature, it's a powerful tonic for our brain. So it depends. I'm not working close to a park, so I have to talk with my colleagues. But based on how we work, we also have external agents. Those external agents can be like casual office conversations, micromanagement of every task, social media activities, inability to say no to other priorities, personal telephone calls, text messages, conflicting priorities which are related with inability to say no to other people. For example, if I have a priority and just start and I send an email to someone else, it's not her priority, okay? So we have to balance our time. Sometimes are like meetings that are too prolonged, too long, or too far away from our office or from our home. And then, of course, procrastination. So in time management and productivity, it's really important to think about what is urgent and what is important. And we have some powerful tools. One of them is the Eisenhower box. The Eisenhower box is a tool that defines the degree of what is really urgent and what is really important. Based on that, we can manage our time more efficiently. And we can divide this box in 4 quadrants, A, B, C, D, okay? The quadrant A is something that you have to do now. The quadrant B is something that you can schedule it, okay? The quadrant C is to delegate. Someone else can do that for you. And the 4th one, just avoid it because it's not relevant. And if we can translate it with that, for example, the quadrant A is to manage something, okay? It's really urgent, so it's a deadline. I have to do that now. I cannot avoid it. The other quadrant is something that we need to be focused, for example. So we're talking about maybe planning. It's really important, but it's not urgent now. The quadrant C is something that you can avoid. For example, telephone calls, emails, and so on. Of course, the last quadrant is social media, television, and your telephone. But how we can organize our to-do list? There are like several tons of techniques. We're going to see a few of them. One of them, which I really like, is the Ivy Lee method. Ivy Lee was a very successful businessman, which was also recognized as one of the pioneer on the field of the public relations. He was also a consultant on productivity. And he suggests to follow this pattern. For example, today I'm working at the end of my day, I write down the 6 most important things that I have to do in the following day, okay? And by doing that, I have to decide the priority, so I have to order them in order of priority. For example, the first important things I would do in the morning are the most important things, and so on. So when you start work on your tasks, you should follow this order. So you have to focus just on one task. When you finish it, you move to the second one. You have to keep consistency with this order. It's really important. And if you are unable to finish your task, you can move those tasks for the following day. Okay, so don't think about perfection, think about the system. It's really important, so it's not mandatory to finish everything, but if you keep this order, it's very useful to be more effective on a daily basis. So there are like also some examples on softwares we can use, online softwares, like Asana, Trello, Basecamp. I don't know, which one of you are using softwares for? Someone is using Asana? Okay, Trello? Okay, we're going to talk a bit about Trello system. Basecamp? Okay, so more or less you know how does it work in Task Manager. I really suggest Asana because I think it's very well organized and it has very good integrations with other apps like Slack, Google Drive, and Gmail. For who doesn't like softwares? There's someone who doesn't like software? There's one, okay. So for people that don't like to use softwares, they prefer just to write down on papers. There are like several interesting tools like the Focus Planner or the Focus Journal, but keep in mind that you cannot share that with your colleagues because it's your personal book. But it can be very useful, and yeah. So this is just don't focus on the detail, on the content. This is just a way on how we can organize a project on a task manager. For example, this is Asana. We have a launch of our campaign, okay? So we can divide everything. We can divide everything on section, okay? We have the budget, the goal, preliminary work, plan, editorial plan, so on. You can divide how you want, okay? We have a timeline to see, okay, the schedule of our project. Also, conversations. What does it mean, conversation? I don't know if other platforms use the conversation thing, but it's really useful because we avoid to use emails. So if I have to find something about my project, I don't have to think about, yeah, I have to go to my inbox and find, you know, what Robert, for example, told me about that task. Everything is on there. The conversation is on there, so we don't waste our time to go to other sources like emails. You can see the progress, okay? The task that you have to finish and the task that you finished. And you can find also the files. Files, what does it mean? That everything is on there. If you have like a PDF, a Word document, everything is on there. And for every task, you can have a subtask. You know what's a subtask? Subtask is just something that is related for like the most important task, but at the end is always related with the project. So for example, there's like investigation, but this is something that I have to do, but maybe an investigation has several subtasks. For example, research, buy some material, maps, and so on. We can tag every task. What does it mean? That we can put like priorities, or in this case, as I wrote down there, is like achieved, on track of, or deferred. Okay, so you can track all your tasks based on tags. And for every project or for every task, you can have like a description, the description page, and here you can find everything. For example, we have the kickoff meeting, and I put the duration of the meeting, what we have to do before the meeting, and the topics. So before starting the meeting, everyone is on top of everything, and we cannot waste our time talking, yeah, what do we have to talk about today? So you just avoid to spend the first 10 minutes, 15 or 20 minutes just to get an agreement on what you have to talk about. Another useful method, if you don't want to use task managers, is just to use your calendar. You can divide your day in slots, and you can schedule it. Like people like Elon Musk, Elon Musk is dividing his day like in 10 minutes slot. I don't know how to do that, but yeah, he's doing that. And there's also the Kanban system. Kanban system, the base of Trello is the Kanban system. This is a system that it's been developed by Toyota in the 40s, and it helps to see the motion of your project from work in progress to its completion. And the base of Kanban is divided in 3 columns, okay? It's to do, doing, and done. It's pretty simple. And every column has a card. We can call them a card. This can be used for personal projects or also with the team. With the team, we have different columns. This is Trello at the end. It's the same of Trello. We have the story. What does it mean, story? That every owner of this task is explaining what this person wants to accomplish with this task in order to achieve the goal. Then there's the to-do column. What do you have to do? So it's the list, it's the complete list of what we have to do. In progress, okay, who is working on and what they're doing. So it's in the column of progress. If someone has to review these tasks, we will move them to verify. And when we finished everything, we put the task finished on done. So it's like an order. This is horizontal. The other method I showed you before was vertical. Depending on how you prefer to work on that, it's up to you. There are several systems. And this is another example on how we can use the Kanban board for our personal tasks. For example, I put the most important thing that I don't like in the morning, for example, answering emails. I just dedicate 30 minutes per day for my emails. I don't want to waste my time on emails. If I read that is something urgent, okay, I'm going to answer that, but just is my low priority email. So just put like a slot of 30 minutes. Okay, first thing. When I'm doing that, I move that on doing. For example, now I'm talking at care, okay? So I'm doing that. And when I will finish that, I will move my talk at care to done. This is just a demo. I will not do that, okay? And so on. We can set like medium and high priority. For example, I have to review and check projects, okay? For 45 minutes, and then I will take like 50 minutes of break. And then I will move to something that has like high priority, like prepare bullet points for a meeting. So if something, for example, is slow priority, and you get like a call from a journalist, for example, just that wants to do an interview, that's more important than answering emails. So you can organize your slots in a more efficient way. Also, another thing that I like to do with my tasks, of course, I'm preparing my day. I prepare the following day at the end of every day, but I have this ritual that I really like it. Every Sunday evening, I envision my week. So I know everything of what I have to do during my week. So I just list everything I want to do on the Sunday evening. So when I start my week on Monday, I have more clarity, and my brain my brain don't need to think on, okay, what do I have to do today, what do I have to do tomorrow. I can just refine my to-do list, but my brain is just ready to execute. Everything is written. So you can follow this Ivy Lee method, but also for the entire week. So let's talk about emails. There are like people that tend to accumulate emails. We are talking about hundreds of emails, thousands of emails, but think about your inbox as your desk. When you don't have order on your desk, your brain is just seeing confusion, and you cannot have clarity on the work you're doing. So it's really important to try at least to have a zero inbox, okay? So we can use some techniques. This is one of them. If you receive something that is not relevant, just delete it, okay? You delete that email, it's just one email that is not in your inbox, so one less email. If something is really important, deal with it now. You have to answer that email now, okay? And something that you can defer it, you can schedule it. For example, I received this email, but this person is asking me too many questions, and they need more time about that, so it's better to schedule it for another day or for the following day, and you can schedule like for 8 a.m. in the morning. So moving that to the following day, your inbox is always empty. And you can use, like, with, I don't know, I'm using Gmail, for example, but also with other services you can schedule. You can send yourself, your emails for other days. So to recap, and giving you some other tips, then if you have questions, we can talk about it. Remember that accumulating emails is not a good thing for your brain, okay? There's too much confusion. It's better to have less emails as possible. And just 2 rules: answer now and postpone them. It's also useful to catalog your tasks. For example, I show you like the priority, but if you don't have tags, you can use like ABC. A can be high priority, B can be medium, and C can be low. It's better always to plan your day, but don't plan it 100%. It's better 85%. We have to be flexible because something urgent can happen, so we have always to be flexible and also keen to help others. And of course, schedule your to-do list for the following day, as I was explaining to you before. I finished.
So thank you very much for very useful tips. Does anybody have any question?
Yeah?
Thank you. Could you please describe more about the story in the Kanban system or in the Trello system? What exactly does it mean, or how you can use it? Thank you.
Okay. Think about we have to launch a campaign. Okay, campaign. There's like street actions, build up a website, and so on. So every owner of the task, like the manager of that task, explain what we want to do or what we want to accomplish with this website. Okay. For example, it can be we need to build this website, but we have to be more careful about the UX, user experience. So that's okay. That's my goal, to have a better user experience of that website. For example, for the campaigner can be, my task is to achieve, I don't know, 10 MPs on board with our campaign. No, so you can explain what you want to accomplish with that task, and then you move it, and then you decide your to-do list, what you want to do. For example, for a website can be the main task can be like build the website, but then the subtasks are like user experience, online forms, and so on. Everything that is related, like design, etc.
Anybody else? If not, then again, thank you very much.
Thank you.